So I'm listening to the radio earlier today, and a handicapper who I'm aware of is on there, and he's bragging about how great his spot-on analysis was with the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, and how he was right on the money, blah, 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 blah. And I'm thinking to myself, how about showing just a little humility? Because as I pointed out in yesterday's video, it wasn't the fact that Kansas City won the game, it was the fact that San Francisco gave them the game. And listen, for as many times as we all suffer bad beats, and many times as we get backdoored, it's okay to be lucky sometimes instead of being good. But this guy who approached me about 10, 12 years ago for a job, and I turned him down. He wanted to become a member of this site. Just went on and on about being the greatest thing since sliced bread, and I'm thinking to myself again, how about just a little humility? Because going into the fourth quarter, hell, with 6 minutes left in that game, he was sunk, just like the rest of us that were on Kansas City too. But again, a little humility. And by the way, the reason I turned this guy down for a job, because he's one of the dinosaurs still in this business, a guy that still believes that ripping people off on 800 number services and boiler room operations is the way to go. He's one of these guys that, like many in this industry, you will find their plays at a dozen different sites at multiple price points and multiple picks at those multiple sites. That's just not the way to go. By the way, every handicapper you see at this site, they work exclusively for us being myself and Steve, who own this business, own these sites. So if you ever see their picks anyplace else, rest assured, Steve and I own that site, and those picks are the same picks at every single site and the same price at every single site. And that's how it's been for, well, since I created these sites. Some 18 and a half years ago. Quick little Super Bowl story before I get, or a couple of little Super Bowl notes until I get to your 3 free selections for today. Back in the 90s, of course, I was in charge of advertising and marketing for the biggest 900 sports handicapping company in this industry. And remember, before the internet, before I brought this business, which was a dying, flailing business in the 900 side, and created what you now see, the online sports handicapping industry. Geez, I wish I could have trademarked, copyrighted that. I would have made multi-billions, huh? But the bottom line is, before I brought it over here, the 900 phone business was the way to go. And at the time, when I was in charge of it, we were doing, at its peak, about $25 million a year. Yeah, pretty good. And there was a time in the mid-90s where everybody got this brilliant idea, hey, let's bring in former coaches, let's bring in former players. One of the first to really kind of bring us an opportunity like this, a guy from Vegas called, and one day he said, hey, I've got 2 people I want to bring you. One was Hank Stram, one was Jimmy the Greek. Well, you know who Hank Stram is, and of course Jimmy the Greek was long past his prime. He had been booted away after those controversial comments he made at the time. So they both come to the offices in Atlanta. And Hank Stram comes into our offices in Atlanta, and somebody asks him about the famous play, 65 toss power trap. And you've heard about it a lot this past week. So we had this big chalkboard on one wall in the office in Atlanta. And Hank Stram goes over and looks and picks up a piece of chalk, and then he goes. And I mean, he's diagramming, and then and I mean, now listen, I did play-by-play in color for football games for about 9-10 years for cable TV. And you know, I mean, basketball was really my thing when it came to doing play-by-play. Football I did because it was there. I was okay. I was average at it, but you know, I knew that wasn't going to ever be my calling card. If I was ever going to make it in that particular part of the industry, it was going to be in hoops. I covered a lot of football coaches, covered a lot of games, but watching Hank Stram up at that blackboard, going at hypersonic speed, and guys, then you go over here, and then you take it over here, and the running back is over. It was amazing. It was just amazing. Then he puts down the chalk and he says, "That's how it is." And everybody in the room's going, okay, that's a Super Bowl winning coach there, guys, just diagramming the most famous play that you have seen on TV, thanks to NFL Productions, 100 zillion times. And the man just did it there in a small little room in an office in Atlanta for all of us, and our jaws were just dropping. So there you go. Okay, let's get to your complimentary plays here for this card. You know, yesterday I told you that I liked Baylor. I was a little apprehensive about using Baylor, and that's why I took a pass yesterday. So why did Baylor not cover -7 at Kansas State? Because Baylor shot 50% in the game, and yet the Bears didn't cover. Why? Because they missed 13 free throws in that game. And that's why Baylor won by 6 and failed to cover the 7 number. So tonight, the games that I like Michigan -2.5 at home against Ohio State. Because listen, guys, if you followed the Big Ten this year, you know pretty much you bet the home team, and you generally cash a ticket in conference play at about an 85% clip. That's just the way it goes. Mitch Newman sent me a text on Sunday that last week the Big Ten home teams went 10-3 against the spread. Gee, I know. I mean, I'm not making fun or belittling Mitch. I mean, he just sent that to me because he was tracking it last week, because we have been talking about the trends going all season long. And the D-Train, Stephen D'Angelo, we've been following it from day one of the season. It has just been a phenomenal money-making trend. Michigan, of course, is coming off 2 big wins. They snapped a 4-game losing streak by beating Nebraska at home last week, and then they went and they played at Madison Square Garden. They took care of Rutgers. Now, Rutgers hammered them on the boards, but Michigan played well. Now, this is an Ohio State team that's 1-4 straight up on the conference road, losing to Minnesota by 13, losing at Maryland by 12, losing at Indiana by 12, losing at Penn State by 14. Notice a bad trend here, all double-digit losses before beating Northwestern by 12, which means you, me, and 3 other guys could beat Northwestern by at least 4 probably. Ohio State's freshman point guard, DJ Carton, of course, took a leave of absence because of mental health issues last week. That hurts this team, a shorthanded team because of injuries and illness already. He was averaging a little over 10 points a game and 3 assists in 23.5 minutes of action. Now, the team did win its first game without him, beating Indiana. But again, that game was in Columbus. This is a team, Ohio State, that launches almost 42% of its shots from beyond the arc. Michigan, though, defends the perimeter extremely well. Only 23% of the points that the Wolverines allow come from beyond the 3-point arc. That's a damn good percentage, because in Division I ball, the average in the country among 353 Division I teams is 31%. They're limiting foes to 23%. Now, Isaiah Livers is still, day-to-day forever. I mean, he's only played briefly in 1 game since December 21st. But Brandon Johns Jr. is coming off 2 straight very good games, setting career highs in points scored in back-to-back games, playing in his place, topping it with 20.7 rebounds and a career-high 38 minutes with 4 triples in that 69-63 win at the Garden against Rutgers. Again, I think this is a great spot to go ahead and lay the points with Michigan. The home team has covered 7 of the last 8 in the series, and Ohio State, after that great start to the season, has just floundered outside of Columbus. Why not take Michigan at home and go with the Big Ten home run in this one? Another game I like is Mississippi State plus the 6.5 points at Kentucky. Listen, Kentucky has won 13 straight in the series. Do I think they're going to go into Lexington and win this game? No. But you're giving me 6.5 points? I'll take it. This is a Mississippi State team that started the regular season or conference play 0-3. Since then, they have reeled off 5 straight wins. They've won 5 out of 6 overall, the lone loss coming in the SEC Big 12 Challenge to Oklahoma. But Mississippi State's coming off another big win here at home, beating Tennessee 86-73, a game which they were down by 6 at halftime. And the key to their surge here in SEC play with the 5 straight wins has been the play of Reggie Perry. He has averaged 21 points and nearly 11 rebounds in conference play. He's big, he's physical. This is a guy who has just dominated the boards. In the one loss to Oklahoma, he got into foul trouble and he only finished with 7 points. That's the thing. And Mississippi State has 4 double-digit scores. They're big and they're physical, as I said. Kentucky is coming off a loss to Auburn. Why did they lose to Auburn? Because the Tigers actually dominated the boards against the Wildcats. And Austin Wiley, the big 6'11", 260-pound center for Auburn, totally outplayed Kentucky 6'11" junior center Nick Richards. Held him to 7 points and 7 rebounds, got him into early foul trouble. Richards had come in there averaging nearly 18 points and 10 boards in his 7 previous games. Plays well this season. I mean, the guy averages 15 points and 8 rebounds on the season. Well, now you have Nick Perry going up against Richards. You have a physical Mississippi State team going up against Kentucky, who, other than Richards, doesn't really have much size, doesn't really have a lot of depth. And I think giving me 6.5 points, yeah, I'll take Mississippi State. I think this is a 3 or 4 point game. Again, they're not going to win this game and snap their 13-game losing streak, but they're a competent team and a live road dog in this one. The final game is going to be Texas A&M. Matter of fact, guys, let me just check one thing. You got a live video report here. Texas A&M tonight is playing Missouri in College Station. Now, of course, Texas A&M won this first game, or won at Missouri in the first meeting this season. And it was a game where Missouri launched 35 shots from three-point land. They couldn't get anything going with their interior play in that one. And that's no surprise because Texas A&M has one of the best interior defenses in all of D1 basketball. Now, the question here for this game is whether or not the second and third leading scorers for Missouri, Mark Smith and Jeremiah Tillman, are going to play here. Tillman has missed 8 straight games because of a fractured foot. Mark Smith missed the game against South Carolina because of a back injury this past Saturday when Missouri got drilled on the Gamecocks' home floor. He's missed the last 1.5 games, actually. He's a key player. Almost 11 points and 4 rebounds a game. He had 19 and 11 in the first meeting. This is a Missouri team that's lost 7 of its last 9 games overall. 5 straight road losses, both straight up and against the spread. They only averaged 56.6 points in SEC road action this season. Texas A&M is coming off a 63-58 road loss to Georgia, but keep in mind, the game prior to that one, also on the road, they went into Knoxville, they were a 9-point underdog, and they knocked off Tennessee 63-58. I think this is a good shot to take Texas A&M to snap a home losing streak. Yes, they've lost 3 in a row, but consider who they've played. Oklahoma State, Big 12 Challenge, South Carolina, a red-hot team, and LSU, the SEC leader, since beating Ole Miss back on January 7th by 10 in their lone SEC home win. This is a Missouri team that, just doesn't play well. It's going to be a low-scoring game because, again, Texas A&M with Buzz Williams, they thrive on their defense, and when they hold opponents to under 64 points this year, they are a perfect 10-0. Low-scoring game, I like Texas A&M. If I had to rank these 3 plays tonight, I say in the top tier, you're obviously looking at Mississippi State and Michigan, and tier number 2, you're looking at Texas A&M. Good luck, everybody, and talk to you again tomorrow when we